Oh boy, have I done well today. So I thought I picked out a few generic budget racing titles. I saw the title London Racer and thought, that can't be anything special. Something average, a normal episode that'll just be, just nothing really. But as it turns out, this one here, the first game in the series, London Racer, is infamous for being one of the worst games ever made. I don't know how that slipped me by. I usually know all of the crappy games. It's one of the most popular things to talk about on the internet these days, or I say these days, for the past 10 to 15 years. But yet somehow this one completely eluded me. I must have heard of it at some point, but obviously I completely forgot, because I picked out 3 of these London Racer games to play today. So let's check them out. As you can probably guess, we're going to start with the first one, which is also considered the worst one. Not that that's saying much when we see the others, but let's go ahead and let's look at London Racer for the PlayStation 1. And what better way to start an infamously bad game with a hideously ugly intro package video. Now apparently this main car you're seeing in this intro video isn't even in the PS1 version of the game. All of the footage you're seeing here is apparently from the PC version. So yeah, they knew they messed this one up. One thing notably absent though is there's no 2-player option. This is a racing game where it's single player only. And this area seems to be where you can repair your car and purchase new cars. You only start with one vehicle in this game, the Nime. Yeah, everything is a fake brand name. And you can upgrade your car, as you can see here too. How do you afford more upgrades and new cars? Well, with price money, of course, that you get for completing races. Even if you lose, you get a little bit of price money. If I'm being honest, I don't think I could play this long enough to gather up enough money to purchase a new vehicle, let alone a full set of upgrades. And here you see the list of tracks in the game. What an exciting list, as you can see. You've got some great options like the M25, which we've all wanted to race up and down at one point, right? So there's no option to just race and pick a track, and pick a car. Nope, you don't get any of that. Like I said earlier, you got one car, and it's one track at a time. You're essentially playing through a story mode's not the right word, but something like that. A career mode, we'll say, if even that's being a bit too generous. But basically, you play one track at a time, in order. When you've beaten a track, you can't go back and play it again. You are stuck on the one track you are on now, and that is it. Maybe once you've beaten them all, you get the option to select one, but like hell am I going to be playing through this whole game, so let's get on to what the gameplay is actually like. The controls are what you'd expect of a racing game at the time, primarily using the X button to accelerate and the square button, I think it was, maybe it was circle, to reverse and brake. The handling on the cars, well, on this car anyway, the Nime, is awkward at best. It doesn't feel like there's any reasonable method to do a sharp turn. Even coming to a complete halt and trying to make a turn is difficult to say the least. The control and handling is a little out there. Unless you happen to be going in a straight line, then I guess it's fine, but there's absolutely no sense of speed at all, which is a little underwhelming when you're playing a racing game, right? Now you also only play with 3 other racers, making a grand total of 4. From what I can tell, that's what the whole game is. You just get 4 people on the road. Whoopee. And in this first course I did, I encountered a few problems. First of all, there seems to be an invisible wall right in the middle of the road. Why? What an awkward place to put it. It looked like I could go right down there, but no, apparently I've got to go down this side bit. And oh no, it's the police. What am I going to do? Whew, that was a close one. And here you can see the wonderful price money. But damn, when it comes down to it, you get damaged quite badly, and the repairs cost an awful lot. Good luck unlocking another car, which costs quite a bit of money when you've got to repair almost every race. Okay, so the next track I played was London City. Now I'll give them this. For a PS1 game, this isn't a bad representation of London. It's got the landmarks and all that kind of stuff. The aesthetics of a London are there. So I can't complain about that. It's still an ugly game, but they've got that bit right, and it's probably the only thing they get right, so at least I found something positive to say, because there's not going to be much else. So the police are actually a little bit more active in London City. It seems like every now and then there'll be a couple of police cars to the side of the road. If you're breaking the rules of the road, so you're speeding or you're driving on the wrong side of the road, they'll start coming after you. When they come after you, they'll just bash into you or try to block your path. And if you crash into them at that point, you'll get given a warning, being a naughty boy on the road. Get 3 warnings and you're arrested, and it's game over.
This is your 3rd warning. You're coming with us.
The problem with this is, the game is so incredibly slow that it never feels like I'm actually speeding. Even when I try to slow down when I get to the police, apparently I'm still going too fast, and they just start coming after me. It's really annoying, and it doesn't feel like it really integrates with the rest of the game all that well. Not to mention, the other cars on the road you rarely ever see. You're either in front of all of them or behind all of them. The other 3 cars are always kind of packed together, so it's first place or 4th place 99% of the time. Now it's on this track I also noticed that the camera started going nuts sometimes. So at first I thought it was a bug, but actually I think this is part of the game. This is part of the mechanics, believe it or not. So it seems like you can't go off-road, like at all, not even a little bit. If you start to go even close to the pavement or off the road, the curb, anything that is not the main track, the game will forcefully put your perspective and your car back on track. Now when you get to really narrow sections of road, that makes this absolutely terrible, because the camera just starts going everywhere, and because it keeps forcefully turning your car, if you start going, say, too far to the left, which isn't far on a narrow road, it'll force you to the right. But then you're too far to the right because you're on a narrow road, so it starts forcing you to the left, and you start zigzagging, and you can see the footage. It's easier to see than explain, but it's a really annoying mechanic they introduced to this game, which is just not necessary. They didn't put any collision detection on half of what you see in the environment, is my main guess. So instead of you driving through loads of buildings in London and ended up in God knows where, they've just stuck invisible walls down the side of the track, exactly where the road is, and you can't do anything else. It took me about 3 attempts, but I finally got to the end of this track. I had to change the camera perspective, which luckily you can do, because I had something like 99% damage to my car, which causes this black smoke to come out, which makes it nearly impossible to see what you're doing in the main camera perspective. Look at this, I won and I can't afford a full repair. You can't get anywhere like this, you're going to be stuck with the Nimue forever. Okay, the 3rd track is the route to Oxford. Yep, Oxford is in this game as well, because why not? It's around this point I just became done with this. The problem here is the tracks are really long. No matter how fast it says you're going, you're not actually going at any kind of real speed. It takes forever to complete a track. Like absolutely forever, and most of the time you're going to get bashed by the police and other cars and the few obstacles that you can actually hit in your way, so there's a good chance you're going to end up arrested or trashed and you have to start all over again. This pretty much sums up my experience with London Racer on the PS1. I have no desire to play even more tracks. Think I've got the general idea. The only thing I'm disappointed with is I never really got a chance to try another car. Maybe some of the other cars make things a little bit better, but this game, even 3 times as good, is still going to be a terrible game. So I think we're done here. Let's move on. So anyway, I can't take any more of that. I would sit there for hours just getting nowhere, and it's just not fun. I'm not here to complete every game, just play them enough to know what they're like. So we'll move on to the long-awaited sequel, London Racer 2. Now they've moved up a generation. This is the PlayStation 2 London Racer 2. If you look on the back, it even looks like there's characters, storylines. Prepare yourself for a brand new race through London and Edinburgh. Experience a lifelike racing world interspersed with realistic radio comments and dance music. New, more realism, more landmarks, and more thrilling stunts. Well, I'll give them this, London Racer did have the landmarks, but realism and thrilling stunts, more of nothing is nothing, so I don't know how that's going to work out. There's also some bonus tracks in the USA apparently. New York, Las Vegas and Chicago are all here. Now as you can see, I don't know if this is readable, but I got this for the whopping price of £1.50 many a moon ago. So I can't really argue that I've wasted money on this. But hey, maybe it's a good price. Maybe they've learnt their lesson. Let's take a look at it. Well, we got better opening videos, that's a start. And there's a 2-player mode. Wow, it took until a whole new generation of console for them to introduce a 2-player mode to a racing game. Not only that, but there's more than one game mode. You can just do a race, you don't have to do the career mode. In this one it's the tournament mode. And instead of having knockoff brand cars, it just gives you a character selection and then there's a car next to them. It makes a little more sense because then you don't have to have these silly knockoff brands. But wait, Jill Valentine? So instead of knockoff brands, it's just a straight up knockoff character, but with the exact same name? What on earth made them choose Jill Valentine as the name? Do you think it was a coincidence? I have a feeling it might actually have been. And when it comes to the normal racing, there's way better options already. You can choose your track, believe it or not, as well as your character and car, and if you don't want those pesky police in there, you can turn them off too. So I'll say this, London Racer 2 is way better. The control is still a bit stiff, and you bounce about all over the place, but it's way more forgiving than London Racer 1. The whole damage system works a little bit better now. Instead of having to spend money that's really difficult to earn, there's just pickups laying around on the floor, so you can just pick something up and it will repair you. It's a lot easier. I also managed to experience the nitro in this game as well. It was technically in the first London Racer, I just never managed to use it. But in this, because you just get pickups and that'll increase your nitro bar, I just used that, and it's nice enough, but it's still painfully slow, even with nitro. Now the tournament mode, which seems to be the main game mode, is where you can unlock all of the other characters and cars and most of the tracks, seems to be a very similar mode to the only gameplay mode you could play in the PS1 game. And throughout the whole game, you just have this weird radio show playing. It's a bit of a mess of noise. The music, the radio show, the sound of the engines, it's all just a little bit too much.
Can I come by and visit with all my friends?
No, we can't do that, but if you stay online, my producer can write down your address, and we'll send you some stickers and a balloon.
It doesn't seem to balance out very well. It feels like I'd have to go into the options menu and set the levels myself, because the sound just doesn't work here. It's just a mishmash of horrible noises. You still only got 4 races. The police are a lot less threatening this time around. They don't do much at all. They just kind of come after you a little bit and you can bash into them and they'll crash. They're not nearly as threatening. I don't think you can get arrested this time. And look, this is a million times better than the first game, but it's still very boring. So it's really not saying much.
Taking in one of the shows on Fringe later.
Moby Dick Cafe, a world of difference.
Well, we started with one of the worst racing games ever made, and then we had one of the most boring racing games ever made. So to top it all off, we're going to go with London Racer Destruction Madness, which at least sounds a little bit more exciting. I don't know if there's anything much for me to say about this before playing it. It looks like it's more based on car combat, hence Destruction Madness, but it does show in the screenshots on the back a racing position, so there's at least racing modes. 18 different vehicles. Oof. How much damage can you do? Crash, smash and bash them up. It all looks very, very typical. I think I know what to expect now, but let's check out London Racer Destruction Madness. Maybe it'll surprise me. Okay, so this one gives us a whole bunch of different game types. The career mode seems to be the place to unlock everything, unlike tournament mode last time. And there's a bit of an emphasis on combat. Sometimes you just have to race normally, but you get defensive and offensive weapons and pickups that you can grab from the floor. Not like a kart racer though. This is not like Mario Kart at all. Half of these feel completely useless. And the sluggish racing gameplay is back in full force. 100 miles an hour? Really? Whatever. And look at this, what the hell is this? You bounce around all over the place, it's like you're made of rubber. Even the computer struggles to play itself. The most fun I had was in the deathmatch mode, which is exactly as it sounds. You just bash the hell out of each other until someone hits a certain score limit, and then they win. The weapons are all entertaining to look at the first time round, but they're not exactly exciting and don't require much in terms of skills or mechanics to use, because they all come down to the same thing. They're either going to protect you from being bashed, or they help you do more damage when you bash someone. It still completely sucks, but it's a lot funnier, I guess. The whole destruction side of it makes it a little bit more exciting, although not by that much, to be honest. And you can have 6 racers at a time now, so it's an improvement. But there's no way in hell I am going through the whole career mode of this to unlock everything. So I think it's time to end this. Well, there we have it. Just these 3 for today. There are 2 more London Racer games. I thought I had them all, and that's why I was going to go with these. And then, after recording all the footage, I realised there are a couple more, all on PlayStation 2, and I have a feeling they're going to be very similar to the 2 PlayStation 2 games as well. Now, I'll pick them up one day, and we'll take a look at them at another point, but believe it or not, the developers of this game, Davilex, I'm guessing that's how it's pronounced anyway, made a whole bunch of other racing-based games. There's like a USA racer, there's German ones. It seems to be what they did. They made budget racing titles that were poorly received. I don't know how many got PlayStation releases. I know a lot of them were on PC, and I'm gonna guess some were PC exclusive, but I don't know that for sure. So we're going to be seeing a little bit more of these guys. I can't really recommend them to anyone because there's plenty more enjoyable racers out there that you can get for just as dirt cheap as these on the same console as these. There is no reason to play any London Racer game. I'm going to say that for a fact now, even though I haven't played the other 2. So there we have it, 3 more games down. Not particularly fun this time. I think I might pick something that maybe I can sink a bit of time into and enjoy playing for the next episode.